Okay, we're recording. I want to welcome you to this presentation on improving ACG's data intelligence with data governance. Thank you for attending. So a couple housekeeping things to take care of first, some information about how the research was done here. There's two types of research, primary and secondary. The primary research was done through interview process with Mr. Tripp Humphrey. He's a data scientist and management consultant with over 10 years experience. And secondarily, research was done through credible websites and articles. So looking at today's objectives, there are four. We're going to first identify data importance inside of ACG's business, what it all means. We're going to go ahead and introduce data governance and how that will help ACG's data intelligence overall. We'll define ACG's data governance objectives, which are like the gaps inside of the current process that ACG has for managing data. And we'll provide some core action steps that ACG can use to get started. So we'll start with data. And you may have heard this before, data is the new oil. So just as oil was critical for the Industrial Revolution to catapult business to success, data is that equivalent in today's business world. Taking a look at a few stats that came from Branca that were published inside of Seed Scientific in 2022. In 2020, there was an estimated 44 zettabytes of data in the world. And you can equate a zettabyte as 1 billion terabytes, so that's quite a bit. In 2025, they predict there'll be 175 zettabytes created, which is about 133% increase overall. And when we look at data, we can look at the diversity of it, and it ranges from research type papers and data to consumer spending habits, social media tweets, media consumption such as Netflix, Amazon, and all that. So why is this all important? Because with this data, we can go ahead and start making critical and key decisions that will help businesses in general. And there are several factors on why this is important. And we can look at what data can do as far as good data, and it establishes a higher level of confidence, which is important when making these decisions. Good data helps reduce risks and increases cost savings overall. So the better your data, the more data that you have and the better that it is, the more confidence you will have in your ability to make decisions with it. And honestly, data doesn't lie. When decisions are backed up by data and facts, your confusion and ambiguity go away, and again, your confidence increases. So let's apply that to ACG, but first let's take a look at ACG's current situation with data and the organization overall. ACG has 13 million members, over 10,000 employees. It's established in 14 states and 2 US territories, and it's the second largest club in the AAA Federation. Quite large indeed. And also there's recently been an executive level mandate that we will be moving all our current on-prem data systems into the cloud using GCP or Google Cloud as our platform. On-prem meaning locally established data centers now are moving into the cloud. So looking at a quick snapshot of what we have already in the cloud, we have something called a data lake, and you can think of a data lake as our central repository for all information that we contain. Currently, that data lake sits at about 60 terabytes worth of information, and it has an average monthly growth of about just over 2%. Our data is segmented into several key areas. One would be discovery, the other would be strategic. You can think of discovery as the raw data as it comes in from source systems and is landed. It is literally just that raw data used for discovery, for discovering information or discovering information about your data. Strategic information is more use is based off the discovery data, but it's been curated and tailored more for business use. So looking at ACG's current data intelligence state, There are a couple of components that are lacking as far as data intelligence at ACG. First off, data points being captured. ACG has not a full comprehension of all the data being captured. We have several source systems that are scattered about. We have recently had mergers and two mergers and acquisitions that have added to redundancy of data systems. So we are a little bit lacking in regards to understanding where our data points exist. So we also have a poor understanding of how our data is defined at an enterprise level. Taking, for example, membership. How do we define what a member is? Do we use last name, first name? Do we use a combination of last name, first name, social security number? So those kind of things, and those can change even within department structures at ACG. Where the data lives, what source systems these data points exist in, and where they eventually end up being used inside of the wild. And lastly, and pretty much mostly important, is how that data is being secured. Currently, ACG has a very rudimentary security plan for its data, but it's not robust enough to meet the ever-growing needs that the organization has. So how does this all flow, and what does data governance have to do with this? Data governance provides a framework that the organization can use and follow. They can tailor it to their needs. And a framework is a set of guidelines, principles, policies, procedures, and even tool sets. In fact, Stedman and Vaughan define it as the process of managing the availability, usability, integrity, and security of your data within the enterprise. In short, the data governance is an actionable framework that you can use within your organization and help stakeholders identify and meet their information needs. So what are the objectives of data governance? What's its purpose? Quite a bit. Actually, it ensures that the data is secure, trustworthy, it's documented, it's auditable and managed. It provides a high level of quality through all phases of the life cycle. And that starts from the capture point in the source systems through any type of transformation process where it lands out into the data lake or into some reporting system for consumption. Some of the core benefits that you get with data governance: increased data value. As you get more governed data, your data becomes definitely more valuable, especially when you need to make core critical decisions. Increases company revenue overall, because you start reducing redundancy and you start having clarity about where data resides and how it's being used. It provides an excellent way for issue resolution because you have governed and understandable and meaningful data to help you resolve these issues. And it helps standardize your data systems. So how do you define success with data governance? You can define it the way that Trip Humphrey has defined it. He has 3 key points that I really like. First off, you can accept that this process will never end and will never be 100% correct. It is a living process. Data governance it's not set in stone and finite. It's continually evolving. The other point he says is you can understand that documenting a chaotic truth is preferable to an orderly delusion, which is fantastic because a lot of times organizations will wait for very clear-cut, set things to be put in place before they start. What Tripp is saying here is it's better to go ahead and get started, start documenting, and start weeding through the mess to get to a workable place. And it just embrace the approach that leadership is transparent and that you need to have access to this information. So it's a couple of key recommendations that I have for ACG to go ahead and get started. First off, you have to make data governance a top priority at an executive level. Everything flows from the top down, and having executive support and buy-in is critical. Next, you would identify all the key stakeholders and get them implemented in some type of governing body. They need to be working together to help understand and solidify and start categorizing the data. We then need to orientate the entire organization to ensure that everybody has an understanding that we have a data governance framework in place, and there's a place that you can go look to understand how data is being dealt with. We should determine the minimum and maximum policies that we're going to use. We don't want to make this too light, and we don't want to make it too heavy. We'll have to just come up with the correct policies and procedures that fit for our current needs. We'll need to implement an enterprise level data governance tool set to help capture all the business terms, to help understand the transformations, and to help really understand lineage from start to finish. Also, we'll have to define key metrics during this process that will help us understand where we're at and where we're currently at, and if we're on target to meet our needs. And lastly, again, we'll have to understand this is a living process and it will need to be tended to on a regular basis to be successful. And with that, that completes my presentation. I thank you very much for attending. Hopefully you enjoyed this and you learned something. Thank you very much.